In 1970s America, something strange was happening. The sky filled with mystery. Newspapers exploded with headlines. And one man, Travis Walton, became the center of a national conversation. But what actually happened? Let's go back and find out. The 1970s in America. Disco lights colored the streets. Families gathered around their TVs every evening. And the country felt warm, familiar and nostalgic. But beneath all that, one topic began spreading everywhere. Strange lights in the sky, unexplained movements, and a wave of UFO sightings that captured the nation's attention. This wasn't just a rumor or a late-night story. Newspapers were running front-page articles. TV shows were bringing in experts. And people at work, in diners, and around dinner tables kept asking the same question. Is something really happening up there? In today's video, we're stepping right back into that era. Why did the UFO craze explode in the 1970s? How did Travis Walton's disappearance become a national obsession? And what did government documents, released or withheld, actually reveal? This isn't a horror story. This is a window into America's past. A mix of culture, media, eyewitness accounts, and a chain of events that people still debate today. If you're ready, we're heading straight to the mid-1972, a time when curiosity was rising, questions filled the air, and the night sky felt more alive than ever. Let's begin. The early 1970s in America were a time of change. The Vietnam War was fading, the space race was cooling down, and people were looking for new questions to think about. Questions that reached beyond politics, beyond daily life, and straight into the sky. Across small towns and big cities, people began reporting the same thing. Strange lights moving with impossible speed, glowing orbs hovering silently above tree lines, and objects that didn't match any aircraft known at the time. These sightings weren't limited to one region. They were happening in Arizona, Ohio, Texas, New York, California, everywhere. Part of what made the UFO craze explode was the media. Television had become a central part of American life. Families would sit together after dinner, flipping through channels, and suddenly a local news station would show grainy footage of something glowing in the sky. Anchors used phrases like unexplained phenomenon and possible unidentified object, and viewers leaned in a little closer. Newspapers amplified the curiosity. Front-page headlines carried phrases such as, "Residents report lights over the valley," "Air Force denies responsibility," "Officials investigating mysterious object." Some articles were cautious and scientific. Others were sensational, almost playful. But all of them fed into the same feeling. Something was happening, but it wasn't just the media. Culturally, America was ready for this. Movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind were being talked about even before they were released. Science fiction books were becoming bestsellers. NASA missions had shown the world that space was real, reachable and full of unknowns. And then there was the government. Whenever officials denied knowing anything, people became even more curious. When the Air Force said, "We can't identify this object," many felt it confirmed their suspicions rather than calming them. Freedom of Information Act requests were rising, and the public was becoming more aware of how much information remained classified. It also mattered who was reporting these lights. These weren't just teenagers telling stories. Some witnesses were police officers, pilots, park rangers, forest workers, people trained to observe their surroundings. Their testimonies added a sense of legitimacy, a seriousness that caught national attention. By 1973 and 1974, sightings peaked. Hotlines were created for people to report UFOs. Local radio stations held call-in shows where listeners would describe what they saw the night before. Some towns even formed small, community groups dedicated to tracking sightings and comparing notes. And in this rising wave of curiosity, excitement and unexplained events, an incident happened in Arizona that would become one of the most controversial and widely discussed cases of the entire decade. The disappearance of Travis Walton. Before his story reached national headlines, America was already looking up at the night sky, wondering what was out there. The Travis Walton incident didn't start the UFO craze, but it became the case that defined it. Now, with that atmosphere set, we move into one of the most debated events in modern American folklore. On the evening of November 5, 1975, A logging crew in Snowflake, Arizona, was wrapping up what seemed like an ordinary day. The sun had already slipped behind the pine-covered hills, casting long shadows across the dirt road. The air smelled faintly of pine sap and dust, and the workers, exhausted from hauling logs all day, were chatting quietly as they climbed into their trucks, ready to head home. But just a few miles down the winding dirt road, something unusual caught their eyes. At first, they thought it might be a distant wildfire, until they noticed the movement of the light. It was too precise, too sudden, and too bright to be a fire. It hovered, then darted sideways, and the intensity made them squint and shield their eyes. There was something impossible up there. Curiosity and disbelief drew them closer, and then they saw it clearly, a glowing, disc-shaped object hovering just above the forest floor. It emitted a blue-white radiance that painted the surrounding trees in an eerie glow. The air felt heavier, and an unnatural silence fell over the forest. No wind stirred the branches. No mechanical hum was heard, only the overwhelming presence of something unknown. Travis Walton, known for being fearless and curious, stepped out of the truck against the protests of his co-workers. "Don't go!" they shouted. But Travis, drawn by fascination and a need to understand, walked cautiously toward the craft. As he approached, a sudden burst of blinding light shot from the object. The force knocked him off his feet, and within moments, his body vanished from sight. His friends screamed, unable to comprehend what had just happened. The crew panicked. They sped away, calling out for Travis, searching the roadside and surrounding woods, but there was no trace of him. Hours felt like minutes as fear, guilt, and confusion swept over them. They debated whether to report it immediately or stay silent. Worried about being ridiculed, eventually they drove to the nearest town and contacted the authorities, setting in motion a chain of events that would captivate the nation. News outlets picked up the story quickly. Local reporters interviewed the crew, describing Travis's disappearance and the strange lights they had seen. Skeptics immediately dismissed the tale, calling it a hoax or a hallucination. But others, including law enforcement officials, were intrigued. Some witnesses were trained observers, forestry workers and experienced loggers who knew how to read the natural world. Their credibility made the story difficult to ignore. By the time Travis Walton was found 5 days later, terrified but alive, the nation was hooked. UFO enthusiasts hailed the story as undeniable evidence, while skeptics analyzed every angle. The incident sparked heated debates, inspired documentaries, and became a cornerstone of UFO lore. The disappearance wasn't just an isolated event. It became a cultural moment that defined the era's fascination with the unknown. That night, the sky over Arizona changed forever, not just for the crew, but for the entire country watching in wonder, fear, and endless curiosity. After the Travis Walton incident captured national attention, curiosity didn't fade, it intensified. The American public wanted answers. Skeptics demanded proof, believers wanted validation, and government agencies were suddenly under scrutiny. That's when FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, began to play a central role in the UFO narrative. The Air Force and other federal agencies had long investigated unidentified aerial phenomena under projects like Project Blue Book. Most of the files had been classified, shelved, or dismissed. But thanks to FOIA requests, journalists, researchers, and private investigators started obtaining declassified documents, memos, and internal reports that painted a more complex picture. These files revealed several important points. One, pattern of sightings. Reports weren't isolated. Clusters appeared in Arizona, Utah, and Colorado. They often involved multiple witnesses, sometimes including law enforcement officers, pilots, or trained observers. 2. Government uncertainty. Many reports concluded with phrases like unable to identify or phenomenon unexplained. Far from revealing secrets, these statements increased public speculation. 3. Media management and public relations. Internal memos suggested that officials were aware of public interest and occasionally attempted to guide media narratives to avoid panic. Yet, the more they tried to manage the story, the more intense the curiosity grew. 4. Scientific analysis and skepticism. Some reports included measurements of light intensity, witness statements and radar readings, skeptics were quick to highlight inconsistencies, but the raw data left many questions unanswered. The FOIA documents didn't provide conclusive proof of extraterrestrials, but they showed the seriousness with which government agencies approached the reports. In some cases, files confirmed official investigations into strange lights, while in others, files were heavily redacted, fueling speculation. Perhaps most interesting, these documents also revealed patterns in how society responded to unexplained phenomena. News cycles, public curiosity, and official communication combined to create a uniquely American UFO culture. A culture where the line between fact, rumor, and imagination blurred, and the night sky became a canvas for speculation. By studying these files, researchers could trace how the Travis Walton case didn't just involve one man or one night. It became part of a broader dialogue between citizens, media, and government, shaping the UFO narrative for decades to come. By the late 1970s, the Travis Walton incident had grown from a local mystery into a national conversation. UFO sightings and stories weren't just confined to news articles. They became part of the cultural fabric of America. Television shows, magazines, and even comedy sketches referenced the phenomenon, turning it into a topic everyone could discuss at dinner tables and in office break rooms. Movies like Close, Encounters of the Third Kind, and documentaries exploring unexplained aerial phenomena reinforced the idea that UFOs were not just a fringe topic. Families who had grown up on sci-fi pulp novels suddenly found themselves watching real-life stories unfold on TV, making the line between fiction and reality blur. Media coverage played a dual role. On one hand, journalists sought to inform the public and report credible testimonies. On the other, sensational headlines sometimes exaggerated events to grab attention. Words like abduction, alien craft, and government cover-up filled newspapers, shaping public perception and sparking heated debates between believers and skeptics. The incident also inspired grassroots investigation. Local UFO clubs multiplied, holding meetings to share sightings, analyze evidence, and sometimes organize nighttime sky-watching sessions. People felt connected to something larger than themselves, a mystery that transcended towns, states, and even the nation. Interestingly, the Walton case became a reference point for how Americans discussed the unknown. It wasn't just about lights in the sky anymore. It was about trust, perception, and the boundaries between reality and imagination. Teachers, writers, and scientists began referencing the case in classrooms, books, and lectures, showing how UFO culture permeated every level of society. Ultimately, the media didn't just report the story, it amplified it, transforming a single night in the Arizona forest into a shared cultural experience that would echo for decades. 5 days after Travis Walton vanished in the forests of Snowflake, Arizona, the nation held its collective breath. Media crews camped near the logging site. Reporters called anyone who might have seen something unusual, and UFO enthusiasts flooded the area, eager for first-hand accounts. Families across America watched their TVs with bated breath, discussing the missing logger at dinner tables and workplaces. No one had ever seen anything quite like this. Then, in a remote section near the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest, Travis Walton reappeared. He was alive but visibly traumatized, his story almost too incredible to grasp. He recounted being taken aboard a craft, glowing, silent, disc-shaped, and encountering beings that defied explanation. Time seemed to warp, perceptions shifted, and moments stretched in ways that made the experience feel dreamlike yet terrifyingly real. The logging crew's accounts reinforced Walton's story. Each witness described the lights, the craft, and the sudden disappearance in strikingly similar terms. Investigators noted the consistency and took their credibility seriously. These were men who had no financial gain from their statements, reputable workers known in their community, and their demeanor suggested genuine fear rather than fabrication. Interviews revealed the psychological weight of the event. Crew members spoke of guilt, fear, and confusion. They questioned their own perceptions and even wondered if they had hallucinated parts of what they saw. Yet their testimony was methodical, detailed, and remarkably consistent across multiple interviews. Researchers noted the depth of human response to extraordinary events, how stress, adrenaline, and disbelief can combine to create a story that is at once personal and widely resonant. The Walton case also inspired a wave of investigative journalism and amateur research. Local UFO clubs swelled in membership, organizing night watches, recording sightings, and debating explanations. Media coverage both amplified and scrutinized the story. Headlines ranged from factual reporting to sensationalized accounts claiming abductions and alien interactions. The public consumed it all, dissecting every nuance, weighing each testimony, and passionately debating reality versus imagination. Radar data and some physical evidence collected during the investigation provided additional intrigue, though it didn't conclusively prove extraterrestrial involvement. Yet for believers, the details confirmed long-held suspicions, while skeptics were challenged to explain the consistent, credible testimonies. Ultimately, Travis Walton's return didn't simply close a missing person case. It sparked conversations about reality, perception, government transparency, and the possibility of life beyond Earth. It became a benchmark in UFO lore, a case where multiple credible witnesses, environmental data, and national attention combined to create a story that still fascinates, puzzles, and inspires today. Even decades after the Travis Walton incident, its influence can still be felt. UFO researchers continue to reference his case, not just for the bizarre disappearance and return, but for the way it sparked national discussion about extraterrestrial life. It has become a benchmark in UFO folklore, a case study in both credibility and cultural impact. The story also inspired theories, some grounded in psychology, some in science, and some in speculation. Could it have been a misperception caused by stress and isolation in the forest? Was there advanced technology unknown to the public at the time? Or, as believers argue, was this undeniable evidence of life beyond Earth? Each theory adds a layer to the legend, keeping the conversation alive. Pop culture embraced the Walton incident wholeheartedly. Movies, TV shows, books, and documentaries have referenced the case for decades. Sci-fi enthusiasts drew inspiration from the story, while skeptics used it as a cautionary tale about human perception and the pitfalls of sensational reporting. In classrooms, psychology and sociology discussions often cite Walton's story as an example of collective memory, belief systems, and societal fascination with the unknown. The incident also reminds us that mysteries have a way of shaping generations. For those who grew up in the 1970s, stories like Walton's weren't just entertainment. They were part of a larger cultural dialogue, blending curiosity, fear, wonder, and imagination. Today, the case serves as both a historical document and a pop culture icon, a bridge between personal experience and shared fascination. In a way, the Walton case is timeless. It reminds us that some mysteries never truly end. They evolve, influence new generations, and continue to spark debates about the universe and our place within it. The sky may hold secrets, but stories like this keep us looking up, questioning and imagining. The Travis Walton case remains one of the most famous and debated UFO encounters in history, from the sudden disappearance in the forests of Arizona to his miraculous return and the detailed testimonies of his co-workers. The story captured the imagination of the entire nation. It wasn't just a tale of lights in the sky. It was a story about curiosity, human perception, and the mysteries that lie just beyond our understanding. The FOIA documents, radar reports, and eyewitness accounts gave the case an unprecedented level of credibility. Whether you are a skeptic or a believer, there's no denying the impact this single incident had on American culture. It inspired documentaries, films, and countless debates, shaping the UFO phenomenon in the public eye for decades. As we look back, we see how the Walton incident reflects the era, the 1970s fascination with the unknown, the rise of media coverage, and the growing curiosity about life beyond Earth. It reminds us that some mysteries are bigger than one person or one night. They ripple through society, leaving a lasting impression on collective memory. If you've enjoyed this journey back to 1970s, America and the mysterious night that became legend, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another dive into the past. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you were in Travis Walton's shoes? Thank you for joining us in exploring one of the most unforgettable UFO stories in history. The sky may still hold secrets, and we'll be here to uncover them.